right. Hi, everybody. David Fogel, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with you for another Symphonina Foundation podcast. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by clarinetist Allison Yacoub from the Maryland area, Baltimore area. Allison, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good. Thank you for having me here.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for joining us. I have to say, clarinet, I mean, it's one of my favorite instruments. I tried it for 4 months. My my dad played it very well, and he played saxophone and flute. And for those of you watching them, that's my dad's tenor back there. But I tried the clarinet, and I found it to be a very challenging instrument. And as I do say, all instruments are challenging to master, but some are harder to get started with. So I
Mhm.
envy everybody who can pick up clarinet and say, yeah, they got their doctorate in music arts performance in clarinet. It's like, oh my God. So tell me about your adventure with the clarinet, how you got started, and like how you decided to go all the way to doing a DMA in clarinet performance.
Of course, yes. I actually started clarinet when I was in fifth grade. I was 10 years old, and it just was something that kind of came naturally to me.
You're the
Uh,
one. I don't know. I guess there are a few, but definitely not me. Yeah, okay.
and I actually had a really great teacher also. I studied privately with Terry Moore, who was a member of the President's Own Marine Band.
No,
And he made a very big impact in my success
we
during that
just had
time.
uh, we just had Claude Lumley, who's a French hornist, and he's been with the Air Force Army orchestras and also is now with the Marine Corps President's Own band. So good coincidence there. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So, and I had a really wonderful music program. I was in Southern Maryland at the time, and I was able to audition and participate in the all county band, tri county band, all state. And it just was something that I really enjoyed. My family is also very supportive as well, which is very important. And I ended up getting a tuition scholarship on the clarinet to Towson University in Towson, Maryland. And so I came there for my undergraduate and just, really enjoyed my time there. And I also won the first prize in the Peggy Friedman Gordon music competition
Hmm.
as well that they had there. And so it was great for me because I kind of focused on performance as well as education, and be able to kind of pursuing both areas of interest and then continued with my master's and I eventually went to University of Maryland College Park for my Doctor of Musical Arts and Clarinet Performance. So
Yeah.
it was just a love of mine, a big passion.
We had Sarah Han Sonoko on yesterday, who's principal flute for Calgary Philharmonic, and she went through the bachelor's degree. And um, I hope I'm paraphrasing her correctly, saying that when she finished the bachelor's degree, she knew she was done with the academic side and didn't pursue it any further. But didn't prevent her from becoming principal flute at a professional orchestra. But for you, it sounds like you were enjoying it and you wanted to keep going and going and going and get everything that you could out of it.
I did, and I also wanted to teach kind of in the higher education realm as well,
Yep.
and that was something that would be beneficial for me as well
That was
there.
something she mentioned also, that if you want to be a professor at a university, that you're going to need a higher degree than just a bachelor's degree. So, but if
Correct.
I
Yeah.
if I if I saw in your bio correctly, you have Master of Science degree in music education before you did your DMA in performance. So you have a very wide background of music education and probably teaching music to people also.
Correct. Yes, I've taught middle school. I currently teach elementary instrumental music. So I've kind of seen things on the K through 12 side of things. I've also taught clarinet and woodwind methods in higher education universities or institutions in the Baltimore area. And so it's kind of given me a nice broad perspective, both in the performance aspect, but then also kind of in the classroom as well.
What do you find that you enjoy more, teaching really young kids to just get started, where you're their first clarinet teacher, or teaching someone who's farther along with some more advanced opportunities, let's say?
It's really I enjoy aspects of both of them just because they're so different. I mean, obviously, I'm able to program certain repertoire with more advanced clarinetists and kind of be able to kind of challenge them a little bit more. I've done some clinics with high school students still, and which I've enjoyed. But even on the beginner side of things, it's kind of like thinking of being part of their musical journey and kind of helping to start them off with success. So I like both. I don't know if I would say a particular favorite, but I enjoy them for different reasons. Yeah.
Do you get to follow your students as they go through their, let's say, career? If they're if they're an elementary school student, it's not quite a career yet, but through their progression, so you can enjoy the successes that they have along the way.
I do have that opportunity, especially if I teach any of their siblings and kind of get to hear about how they're
Mm,
doing, or
yeah.
see them in other music events in the area. Actually, some of my students that I've taught in higher ed are now teaching in the classroom themselves.
There you go. So you get second generation students.
Yeah, exactly.
You do, yeah, yeah, it's great. Well, what did you do for your doctorate? Did I understand that you may have looked at non-Western music as part of that, or what was your focus?
Yeah, so the actual, well, it's really three dissertation recitals that I did at University of Maryland, and so it was kind of focused on, the title is Compositions for Clarinet Influenced by Non-Western Musical Traditions. And so I did three recitals. One was more based on Middle Eastern uh, style or genres. One was more South American, and then one was Asian.
Okay.
And so I researched the different types of compositions that were available for me to program and kind of piece things together. And then also afterwards, I was able to participate in the Silk Road Ensemble's Global Musicians Workshop. The very first one that they had was in 2015. And so I was able to kind of apply what I did for my dissertation into kind of collaborating with people from different parts of the world and in other musical styles too.
Yeah, let me ask a question, put you on the spot a little bit. I don't mean to, but I've had a couple of conversations with our flute players that we've interviewed, and the flute has a long history of being developed in different places in different ways before it evolved into the modern flute that we're familiar with. Does the clarinet have a similar history of cropping up in different places and different forms? I presume it probably would have started as a wooden instrument, but
Yeah,
what's the history of the clarinet?
I think that, I mean, you could even think of, I mean, I would say, if you're going back as far back as, let's say, ancient Egyptian civilizations, there
Mhm.
is kind of like a double clarinet car. I think it's called the argul. But obviously, the clarinet, as far as the one that we know today, kind of back in Western Europe, obviously, and kind of created to where it is today.
So
But
1700s would be about the time then? Like,
and then it would start off with like maybe two keys, and then kind of gradually expand upon that little by little in its evolution.
interesting. Okay. All right. Very good. When you're teaching private students, do you do anything online now, or is everything in person?
Right now, everything is in person. Obviously, during the pandemic, we had to be creative in our instructional delivery. So did a lot of things online during that time,
Right.
even with, whether it be with the classroom, more of kind of like a general music instruction, as well as the instrumental music side of things as well. So yeah, we did what we needed to do and did our best.
A lot of people enjoy doing the lessons online, and I suppose there's pluses and minuses to everything in life, but I would imagine being in person with somebody for the few times that I've helped people with saxophone, for example. I'm not the world's greatest saxophone player, but I can still be of help to some people.
Of course.
It's always been easier to get the hints about what to suggest when they're in person. So but I bet there's a skill that people pick up for teaching online to look for other things that they can help out on more effectively.
I think so. I think also for those that do that, it really, I think, opens up the audience, I guess, of who they're able to work with. I
Yeah.
think that could be for them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're currently performing with the Maryland Winds, if I understand correctly.
Yes, yes, it's a professional concert band. We're in about, I think, our seventh year,
Hmm.
and it's really been a wonderful opportunity to perform. I mean, it's a lot of the people are either current military musicians or retired or professional musicians, freelancers and educators, and it's a really a great joy to perform with them.
That's great. So in the winds, let's take some basic things. I'm presuming there's no percussion.
There is
See,
actually,
there we
yes,
go. Okay. And are there strings?
no strings.
Okay, good. Because otherwise it'd be called an orchestra, right? So
I mean, we do have harp and bass, but those
yeah,
were the main.
yeah, we can pluck them. Okay. So if you had a violin, you'd have to do pizzicato only. So, and then any brass.
Yes, we have woodwinds, brass, percussion.
Okay. So as long, okay, that's great. And then do you play, is there a standard repertoire for a wind ensemble like that? Or do you do adaptations of other things or both?
I mean, there are, some standard repertoire, of course, like a lot of Holst and
Hmm.
Granger, that kind of thing. But then they've also done some commissions for some new performances of compositions within the past couple of years. I believe they had a saxophone concerto that was premiered. And so, they're kind of looking at some other possibilities in the future as well.
Very nice. I've not written in my mind. I haven't done anything that's not like for an orchestra. If it's an orchestral thing, to cut the strings out and cut them out sounds so harsh, but to gently remove them. So and then have the sound be the way you want. But it would be a challenge to do so. Maybe I'll consider doing something for a wind ensemble like that. It would be interesting. So how long have you been with the organization?
From the very beginning,
Wow.
actually.
Okay. All right. And so when they were forming it, what was the thought of forming it, and who was in charge of doing that?
So the artistic director is retired Colonel Timothy Holton, and I think he was looking at kind of like what has been done previously with in other wind ensembles, such as the Dallas Winds and that kind of thing.
Yep. And we're good friends here at the Symphonina Foundation with Julie Vivaldo, who's with the LA Symphonic Winds. They have a performance coming up in June. Also, we heard from her not too long ago, so we're big fans of all that. That's great. What other things are you working on to support young people with their educational opportunities?
Well, in addition to my instruction, we're getting kind of ready for our concert season, end of the school year. And then also just finished a term with the Youth Involvement Committee with the International Clarinet Association. And so we're kind of looking at the resources available for educators to help in their instruction of clarinetists, which have been posted to the ICA website, whether it be about embouchure or articulation, that kind of thing. And then this summer, I'm looking forward to attending the Clarinet Fest and so observing how I might be able to take some of the things that I'm observing other instructors using or working with their middle school, high school students, and possibly doing like a clarinet group myself with my younger students as
Yeah,
well.
that's wonderful. Is there kind of like, to borrow a phrase, a standard rep? Is there a standard repertoire of clarinet instruction materials that people look to as like this is the standard of how we go about instructing on clarinet, or is it much
There's a
more
lot.
wide open?
Yeah, I mean, there's usually some standard ones that you would kind of look to, and but then there's a lot that have also come out. But it can also depend on the level of instruction between either college or, but obviously elementary instruction and middle school and high school. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah. When I guess a good question maybe to wrap with would be for students who are like I was struggling with the clarinet. What are the things that we can do to best help us not struggle? What are the things that are the most common roadblocks that you find for making advancement in clarinet performance?
I think that usually the tone production, if we focus a little bit more on that first, really kind of helps to build up, set the foundation for everything else. So that could be obviously equipment that they're using, the reed placement, embouchure, of course. And then even just kind of working on the airflow and kind of projecting using your diaphragm to kind of support the air that way. Before you even, obviously the fingerings, that can be something else if they're not covering the tone holes correctly. Obviously, that is going to, that's not going to be helpful if they're not able to do that as well. And then and above that is articulation. Sometimes, kind of trying to convey the concept of articulation to a young person can be a little challenging, and to try and find different ways to kind of help them understand, oh, okay, this is and this is what I need to do and to get the desired result from that.
Yeah. Are there exercises that clarinetists do with just the mouthpiece only, like we do with the saxophone sometimes? It's not that
Oh,
common
yes.
anymore for me, but yeah.
Yeah, so we can do that just with the mouthpiece and the reed and ligature and barrel, and just kind of focusing on that first.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, my dad's clarinet still sits in the closet behind me. Every once in a while, I put it together. If people want to get in touch with you with their clarinet questions or find out more about the Maryland Wind schedule and anything else that you're working on, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Allison?
I'm on Instagram, Yacoub Clarinet, and that would probably be one of the best ways to do so.
Okay, or you can be found at Facebook as I found you originally.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That works. That works too. Allison, thanks so much for spending your time with us today. We're going to listen to some more of your great clarinet playing on the way out here. And if we can ever be of any help with anything that you're doing, feel free to let us know.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.